Hi, I'm Georgiana at Holistic Life Hub, and we will speak now about the best hours for our health. And as we already know, I'm not coming with groundbreaking information here when it is about the fact that everything around us takes places in cycles. The days of the week, the months of the year, the seasons, the cycles of education, and so on. So many spiritual traditions teach us that the external world actually is mirroring what it is within. And this means that if there are external cycles, then there are as well internal cycles. And the work of our internal organs actually follows a very rigorous program. Every other hour, another organ moves into a period when it can self-heal, regenerate, has its maximum of activity, and at the opposite end, it is also most vulnerable to external actions. So now I will go through our internal organs and the best hours for them in which they can do exactly this, self-regenerate and self-heal. The gallbladder, the time range for it is between 33 in the evening and 01 in the night. Between these hours, the gallbladder functions are intensively active and its secretions contribute to digestion. The gallbladder is an organ that, through its dysfunctions, causes great problems to the entire body. Those who wake up often at night during this period actually may have a dysfunction of the gallbladder, of the bile, or of the liver. Stress and also heavy fried fat foods in the evening will prevent, of course, the gallbladder from functioning properly. And wet and hot compresses applied to the liver area are very beneficial during this time interval between 11 p.m. and 01 a.m. The slightly warmed plant macerations drank with small sips, especially wormwood maceration, taken 20 minutes before the meal, it will help to activate the gallbladder function. Also radish juice, so fresh squeezed radish juice, will also help. It is also important to decongest the large intestine, and there are many natural alternative methods for doing that. For those who do not sleep during this time interval, it is necessary to avoid cold drinks and cold foods. At least this is what you can do. If there are problems with the functioning of the gallbladder or liver, working during night is a very bad choice because the two organs cannot be restored if you do that. The gallbladder meridian is associated with sleep and regeneration of the body. So if you are agitated before going to bed, it means that your bladder and liver have not been cleansed from toxins, and they will act as irritants for the brain, making you restless and not being able actually to fall asleep. And therefore you can also experience bitterness and resentment. The liver, the time range for its health is between 1 a.m. 3 a.m. or 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the night. The liver is activated between these hours. So during this period, the oxygenation of the brain is minimal. Those who suffer from liver problems will have an agitated sleep or even will wake up during this time interval. The liver and the gallbladder being pair of organs, it implies that those suffering from gallbladder disorders will have the same symptoms. And during this time, it is not recommended to eat fatty foods or alcoholic beverages. If the liver has a damaged structured. It can be restored under certain conditions, meaning that sleep is important along with good bodily warming, especially during this time interval. So the function of the liver is affected by the toxicity of food, alcohol, nicotine, and stress. Note that alcohol and nicotine have a more harmful effect between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. in the morning. Anger and frustration reach maximum peaks between these hours. So now we move along to our lungs, and the time range for the lungs is between 3 and 5 in the morning, 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. Lungs are active during this time interval, so smokers, asthmatics, those who are having a cold or other respiratory problems, illnesses, they will wake up from their sleep, or they will have an agitated, quite troubled, restless sleep. Those who are sick and overwhelmed by the feeling of fear and insecurity will have these symptoms, especially in this time interval that I already mentioned. Large intestine, the time interval for it is between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock early in the morning. It is the maximum activity of the large intestine. Food usually remains in the small intestine about 2 hours, and then in the large intestine for about 20 hours. It is the period when most people go to the toilet for number 2. It is advisable to avoid stress and hurrying during this time. Those with large intestine problems usually feel worse during this time interval than during the rest of the day. Using herb macerations is very recommended. The thin feces indicates problems in the small intestine, and constipation reveals an increased toxicity in the body. And then the next time interval between 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock, it is our stomach that has maximum activity. It begins during this time interval, and it is the peak moment of digestion. So it is very important how we wake up in the morning. No rush, we need to grant ourselves some moments of relaxation. If we notice how animals wake up, we find that they first stretch, starting slowly the new day. Breakfast is good to be eaten between these hours, quiet and not hurrying. It is necessary to keep in mind the quantity and also especially quality of ingested food. So avoid exposure to cold showers. It is advisable to stay in a warm environment, especially during this time interval. So now we move on to the spleen and pancreas, and the time range for these inner organs is between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock in the morning. Spleen and pancreas are at their peak activity, and now the stomach is at rest. So during this time, it is not recommended to consume food which is difficult to digest. It is totally contraindicated drinking alcohol. Eating fruits is recommended, the only time of the day when the body can actually effortlessly digest sweets. The pancreas is the one that controls your blood sugars level. So, however, it is advisable not to consume too many sweets in order not to force the pancreas. If the spleen does not work properly, the thrombocytes cemetery, how it is called, may disrupt the level of thrombocytes in the blood. Physical effort will be avoided during this time interval. So it is much better that in this time interval you have availability for mental and intellectual effort. This is the best. So next time interval, next time range between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. At noon, it is time for our heart. It represents the maximum of activity of our heart. And so, in this interval, excessive eating of heavy foods, meaning consuming a lot of energy, it is really not recommended. And if you think this is the time when most people are having lunch, so it's not exactly the best time range for actually having lunch and eating a lot of heavy foods. So during this period, the level of oxygenation of the brain decreases, which is why there is an increased risk of injuries. The focus is not as great as the rest of the day. We move now to the small intestine with the time range between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon. So during this time, the small intestine is very active. It decreases the sensitivity to teeth pain, so it is the ideal time for dental treatments. The activity of the small intestine, which plays, of course, an important role in the digestion process, is guided by the vegetative nervous system, which can be blocked or deregulated by stress or by nervousness. So for this reason, it is recommended that lunch is eaten in a state of peace and tranquility. The ability to have physical activity is on the ascending curve during this time range. So now we will move to the urinary bladder. The time range for this organ is between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, p.m. It is the overactive period for the urinary bladder. It has an important role in detoxifying the body along with the kidneys. So this process can be accelerated with the help of diuretic macerations, which have a maximum effect if they are drunk by 19 o'clock in the afternoon. Increased consuming of liquids, either it is water or tea, so no alcoholic beverages when I mean liquids, and sports activity is recommended during this period. The body is able to digest easier the heaviest foods, which further increases the predisposition for physical activity. So now we move on to the kidneys with the time range between 5 p.m. 7 p.m. in the afternoon. The kidneys work at full capacity, so therefore it is advisable to avoid the factors that will make their activity difficult. Fat, sugar, salt, soft drinks, food with all kinds of chemicals in it, coffee, alcohol, but especially stress and cold into your body, please avoid that. If during this period you have a diuretic maceration and a relaxing massage, it will lead to a more effective detox of your body. The blood circulation in our body is especially efficient, having the maximum activity of pericardium and the circulatory system in the time range between 7 and 9 o'clock p.m. in the evening. It is the time when the body refuses to sleep, when the body and the spirits think of something other than just resting. It is the period of maximum sensitivity, optimal to, for example, watch a theater, listen to good music, or watching a good movie. During this time, all types of medical treatments have a maximum efficiency, taken both orally but also externally depending on the treatment. And now the last meridian that I will mention before I wrap it up is the triple heater meridian with the time range between 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock p.m. in the evening. Between these hours, a lot of energy accumulates in the body. So these 2 hours of energy recovery are called by the Chinese the triple heater. Those who are sensitive to cold at this time, those who can only sleep in a heated room, should not ignore these signals. So something has created a physical or an emotional imbalance, and therefore it requires attention. So the 2 hours mentioned for each organ are good to refill that organ with vitality. So with these very simple aspects that I mentioned here, you can actually take care of your health quite easily. So now you know when it is the best time to have breakfast, when it is the best time to have lunch, best time for physical activity, for intellectual activity, what to do, what to avoid in order to, of course, maintain your health and feel great. So I do hope that this information is helpful for you, and much more information about related topics you can find on my website holisticlifehub.com. For now, I wish you a great day, and I hope that you will maintain your health with ease.